In just 47 seconds, $2.8 million in classified document fees. Jamie Raskin didn't retreat when Kash Patel deflected with national security claims. He slammed down a manila folder thick with federal court records. Cameras zoomed in on Patel's face, draining of color. The packed congressional hearing room fell into absolute silence. What did Congressman Raskin reveal about FBI Director Patel's role in burying Trump-Epstein evidence that made the most powerful law enforcement official in America visibly shake? At exactly 2:14 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, the House Judiciary Committee chamber buzzed with the electric tension that only comes when secrets are about to surface. Mahogany desks arranged in their traditional horseshoe formation bore witness to dozens of reporters adjusting their equipment with nervous energy, congressional staffers whispering urgently into phones while pacing the marble corridors, and C-SPAN cameras positioned to capture every micro-expression and telling gesture. The afternoon sun streamed through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor where constitutional battles had played out for decades, each scuff mark telling stories of democracy tested and defended. Jamie Raskin walked in like a prosecutor who had spent sleepless nights connecting dots that others refused to. His silver hair caught the overhead lights as he carried 3 thick binders, each one labeled with dates spanning from 2019 to 2024. Behind him, 2 Democratic staffers wheeled in a cart loaded with boxes marked classified material, Congressional review only. The Maryland congressman's jaw was set with the determination of someone who had discovered something that would change everything. Across the chamber, Kash Patel sat like a man carved from ambition and controversy. His posture rigid with the kind of practiced confidence that comes from years of high-stakes political warfare. The FBI director's dark suit was perfectly pressed, his American flag pin catching the light as he adjusted his tie with mechanical precision. 3 legal advisors flanked him like bodyguards, each carrying briefcases that bulged with prepared responses and constitutional arguments designed to deflect any line of attack. Patel's eyes swept the room with the calculated calm of someone who had navigated political storms before, but there was something different in his posture today. A slight tension in his shoulders, a barely perceptible tightness around his eyes. The committee chairman banged his gavel 3 times. The committee will come to order. Today we examine allegation regarding the FBI's handling of classified materials related to ongoing investigations. Murmurs rippled through the gallery as Raskin opened his first binder. Inside, hundreds of pages bore FBI letterheads, Department of Justice seals, and redaction marks that looked like black wounds across official documents. Patel leaned into his microphone. "Chairman, I want to be clear from the outset. The FBI operates under the highest standards of integrity and transparency. Any suggestion that this bureau has mishandled classified information or obstructed justice is not only false but dangerous to our national security." His voice carried the practiced confidence of someone accustomed to congressional hearings, but his hands remained clasped tightly in front of him. Raskin's eyes never left Patel's face as he lifted a single document from his binder. "Director Patel, are you familiar with federal case number 24-CV8847, filed in the Southern District of New York on March 5th? The paper rustled in the silence as every camera in the room focused on the exchange. "Congressman, I review hundreds of federal cases. I'd need you to be more specific about the nature of your inquiry." Patel's response came too quickly, his legal training evident in how he deflected without answering. "This case involves a civil lawsuit filed by Jeffrey Epstein victims against the Trump Organization for allegedly facilitating meetings between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein between 2016 and 2020. Raskin's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The plaintiffs requested FBI files as evidence. Those files were declared missing. The chamber froze like a photograph capturing history in motion. Even the usual shuffling of papers and whispered conversations stopped dead. Reporters' fingers hovered over keyboards as they processed the earth-shattering implications. Patel's face remained impassive, but a slight flush crept up his neck above his starched white collar. His breathing became shallow and measured, the kind of controlled respiration lawyers teach clients before testimony. Behind him, his legal team exchanged glances that spoke volumes about their growing panic. "Congressman, I cannot discuss ongoing litigation or classified materials in an open hearing. The FBI's protocols," Patel began. But Raskin interrupted with the precision of a surgeon making an incision. "Director, these files weren't classified when they went missing. They were reclassified as top secret after the civil lawsuit was filed." Raskin opened his second binder and withdrew a thick stack of papers. "I have here a timeline prepared by the House Intelligence Committee showing that 847 FBI documents related to Trump-Epstein communications were retroactively classified on April 3, 2024. 18 days after the lawsuit requested them." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Twitter exploded with "Raskin exposes Epstein" and "Patel cover-up" trending within minutes. Fox News producers frantically called their anchors as CNN prepared to break into regular programming. The political earthquake was beginning, and everyone in the room could feel the ground shifting beneath their feet. Patel's advisor leaned over and whispered urgently in his ear. The FBI director's knuckles whitened as he gripped his prepared statement. "Congressman, the FBI does not retroactively classify documents to obstruct civil litigation. Classification decisions are made based on national security considerations, not political convenience." "Then explain this." Raskin pulled out a single email, blown up to poster size and mounted on an easel. "This is an internal FBI email from your Chief of Staff to the Records Management Division, dated April 6. It reads, and I quote, "Per Director Patel's instructions, all materials related to Operation Black Book are to be elevated to TS/SCI classification, effective immediately. Congressional and civil discovery requests are to be referred to the White House for executive privilege review." Silence, like a tomb, filled the chamber, broken only by the hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of DC traffic. Even the cameras seemed to stop moving as the weight of Raskin's revelation settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Patel's face had gone pale, the color draining from his olive complexion, as if someone had pulled a plug. His carefully constructed composure began to crack like ice under mounting pressure, revealing glimpses of the panic beneath his professional mask. "Congressman, that email," Patel started, but his voice caught slightly. He cleared his throat and tried again. "That email is taken out of context. Operation Black Book was a legitimate counterintelligence investigation with foreign policy implications. The classification was appropriate." Raskin smiled grimly and opened his third binder. "Director, Operation Black Book wasn't a counterintelligence operation. According to FBI records I've obtained through congressional oversight, Operation Black Book was the code name for collecting and securing evidence related to Jeffrey Epstein's client communications. Evidence that included recorded phone calls between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein made after Epstein's The explosion of sound from the gallery was immediate and deafening. Reporters shouted questions over each other, their voices creating a cacophony of accusations and demands for clarification. Committee members banged on their desks demanding order while simultaneously checking their phones for social media reactions. The chairman's gavel banged repeatedly against its wooden block, the sharp cracks echoing through the chaos like gunshots. Security personnel moved toward the gallery as spectators leaned forward in their seats, straining to hear every word. Through it all, Raskin sat calmly, like the eye of a hurricane, while Patel appeared to shrink in his chair, his broad shoulders hunching inward, as if trying to disappear entirely. The FBI director's legal team huddled around him, papers scattered across their table as they desperately searched for a response to an allegation they hadn't prepared for. At exactly 2:47 p.m., 33 minutes after the hearing began, Raskin delivered the moment that would be replayed on every news channel for weeks to come. He stood up with deliberate slowness, his chair scraping against the marble floor with a sound that cut through the tense silence. He walked to Patel's table with measured steps, each footfall echoing in the hushed chamber like a countdown to judgment. The FBI director's security detail tensed reflexively as Raskin approached, their hands moving instinctively toward their jackets before realizing this was a congressional hearing, not a threat assessment. Raskin placed a small flash drive directly in front of the FBI director, with the precision of someone delivering a checkmate move. This contains audio files recovered from Epstein's Manhattan residence, files that your bureau claimed were destroyed in files that prove Donald Trump maintained regular contact with Jeffrey Epstein throughout his presidency. Patel stared at the flash drive as if it were a bomb about to explode, his dark eyes wide with something approaching genuine fear. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his water glass, the clear liquid sloshing as his fingers shook. The chamber held its breath in collective anticipation, waiting for his response like an audience at a theater on opening night. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, cracking with the strain of maintaining his composure. "Congressman, I cannot authenticate materials presented in this manner without proper chain of custody verification." "You don't need to authenticate them, Director. The Justice Department already has." These files were recovered during a raid on a storage facility in Queens that was rented under a shell company owned by the Trump Organization. The FBI has had these recordings for 8 months. 8 months during which you told Congress, under oath, that no such evidence existed. The cascade of evidence was unstoppable now. Raskin presented document after document showing how Patel had personally intervened to suppress evidence, reclassify documents, and stonewall investigations, each revelation built on the last, creating an avalanche of corruption that buried Patel's credibility completely. By 3:15 p.m., Patel's legal team was frantically passing notes back and forth like trader on a crashing stock exchange, making hushed phone calls to damage control specialists at the Justice Department. The FBI director sat silently as Raskin methodically destroyed his reputation with surgical precision, each revelation landing like a physical blow. Every answer Patel gave only dug him deeper into a hole of his own making, his responses becoming increasingly desperate and contradictory. Every deflection was met with another document that contradicted his statements. The final blow came when Raskin revealed that Patel had taken $2.8 million in consulting fees from a company that was later revealed to be a front for cleaning up Trump's legal problems. The money had been paid in 3 installments, each one corresponding to major decisions to classify or destroy evidence related to the Epstein investigation. "Director Patel," Raskin said, his voice carrying the weight of constitutional authority, "you swore an oath to defend the Constitution and uphold the law. Instead, you turned the FBI into a tool for covering up the crimes of a former president. You didn't just betray your oath, you betrayed every agent who serves under you and every American who trusted you with the sacred duty of law enforcement." Patel's response was barely audible. "I have always acted in accordance with the law and in the best interests of national security." But his words carried no conviction, and his body language told the story of a man who knew his career was over. The immediate aftermath was swift and brutal. Within hours, Patel Resign Now was trending on every social media platform. CNN and MSNBC ran continuous coverage of Raskin's devastating presentation. Even conservative outlets struggled to defend Patel against the mountain of evidence Raskin had presented. By evening, 3 Republican senators had called for Patel's resignation. The White House issued a terse statement saying they were reviewing the testimony and evidence presented today. FBI agents at field offices across the country watched the hearing coverage with a mixture of shock and embarrassment at how their director had been exposed. In a quiet moment, after the cameras stopped rolling and the chamber emptied, Raskin sat alone at his desk, organizing the papers that had brought down one of the most powerful men in America. A young staffer approached and asked how long he had been building the case against Patel. "Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a badge or a subpoena," Raskin replied, closing his final binder. It's truth, archived and revealed at the right second. What happens when a leader who built power on secrecy is undone by evidence? If patriotism can't survive transparency, was it ever real? The answers to these questions would reshape American politics for years to come, all because one congressman refused to let corruption hide behind national security claims.